Welcome, race fans, for the Belly Up Sports Cup Series here at Nashville 200, race number 16 of the Belly Up Cup Sports Series here. We are excited, ready to get this second race of the second round going here. Joining you today, Dave Huckleberry, the producers, giving you this wonderful shot as the sun's going down. Going to have a nighttime race here, as well as David Westergreen, my co-announcer here for tonight, as well as myself, Gerald Campbell. We are excited for a 150-lap race here. Drivers are all ready to go. This is what we've got going on for the point systems as we see. Drivers locked in, only one of those, Ethan Burrell, with his win 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago?
It was last week.
Last week. Going by fast. Last week, Ethan Burrell able to get that win and lock himself in for Do Good Motorsports. He's going to be the only driver in green. Drivers that are in technically based off of points, if it was to end now, would be the drivers in blue. Drivers in orange are the ones that are looking on the outside, trying to either find a way to point themselves in or lock themselves in when they win themselves here tonight. 9 drivers trying to go for one of those 4 playoff spots. Qualifying is underway right now. I'm excited. Dave, are you excited as me going to see how these drivers are able to get this concrete 1.5 mile track? Not a lot of known races here. Not a lot of statistics for us to go off of. Not a very common race for these next gen cars to be on.
Yeah, no, this is an exciting race because this track is a little bit more new to iRacing. So a lot of these guys don't have the same level of experience that they have at some of these other tracks that they would have run, 10, 15, 20 times in this elite series. Nashville's one of my favorite tracks on the service, right? A couple of unique corners, a concrete surface that definitely wears the tires and allows for some multi-groove racing, especially with that lower horsepower next-gen car. I think we'll see guys side by side a lot tonight. With the nighttime, we're going to have that grip level really high. I think guys are going to be really racy, and you'll see some good action tonight. 150 laps, and we're in round 2 of the playoffs, so the points and the race win itself are ever important as they chase that Belly Up Cup here in a couple of weeks.
Qualifying is almost wrapped up. Within 10 seconds, the final laps are being tallied. The times are coming in onto the board. We're about to find out who's going to be leading us from the pole. You also get a point for getting the pole, so the pole is very important for these drivers. I knew a couple of them focus very heavily on qualifying in their practice session, and we're about to find out now where we stack up for this race.
Pole sitter is Ethan Stanley, Lake Norman Motorsports. That's one of our chase drivers, and a driver that really needs those points because he had a bad week last week.
Absolutely. Ethan Stanley, one of those drivers that has had I would say, up and down season on qualifying, has not had the consistency his team has had on qualifying, but has come strong here today. It's going to lock up that 1 point for getting the pole system. Looked like David Tooker is going to be starting from the second spot for Pro Edge. One of those drivers in blue trying to get the points to continue to go his way to lock himself in either by the points or with the win. Matthew Weeks, third, our regular season champion, going to be starting from the 3rd position. Our first driver that's not in the chase is going to be a Leighton Norgard starting from the 4th, one of our rookie drivers starting from 4th position. Nick Massey for Mountain Man Motorsports will be starting 5th tonight. Chad Frankenfield for Little Eagle starting 6th, Justin Fortner 7th, Tyler Fody 8th, Wyatt Canadle 9th, Tate Lytle 10th, Jesse Racimus 11th, and Ryan Gable 12th.
Trey Holmes will go from 13th in that North Carolina blue race car. 14th will be Josh Personette with a strong qualifying run after a good run last week. Justin Wadsworth will start from 15th, another one of the rookie contenders, and one of our chase drivers starting 16th, Garrison Hogan. 17th will roll Talladega winner Gavin Hibbs, and 18th will be Justin Vandermarl. 19th will be Seth Rawls, and 20th will be Hunter Smith. 21st will be Brent Jones, and 22nd will be Ty McIntosh. Richie Hearn will start 23rd, and Michael Goodman will start in 24th.
These are our final drivers here. Starting in the 25th position is going to be Johnny Thomas. 26th, Michael Hossack. Andrew Rucker will be starting from the 27th position. Ethan Burrell, our last week's winner, doesn't have anything to really worry about here today, going to be starting from the 28th position. Kyle Hanshaw, 29th. Mark Verbella's 30th. Jeff Green, 31st. Chris Stouffer, 32nd. Our farthest back and in a little bit of concern, Scott Crump, starting from the 33rd position. Casey Hatch, 34th. Jonathan Cutlip, 35th. And Joshua Clark will be rounding out the field in 36th. Those are our qualifiers here tonight. These are going to be our stars, the people we're going to be talking about all through the night. As these drivers are getting lined up, the pace car lights are off. We will be going green flag this time to start the Nashville 200, the second round for the second race for the Belly Up Sports Cup Series here. Ethan Stanley will be leading us from the pole in his Chevy. He's going to have to try to see if he can be able to hold off those hard-charging Toyotas right behind him as they get to the restart line where the racing gets good and the good get racing. Let's see if we can go ahead and get another driver locked in tonight. Green flag is out and we are green at Nashville.
Matthew Weeks, Ethan Stanley with a good push on that inside lane. Typically, the inside's going to be the preferred lane here at Nashville as Ethan Stanley does clear for the race lead over David Tooker, and Matthew Weeks slots it into third, and Chad's going Chad wide already. He's heading for that middle gap, trying to take over that fourth spot from the late Norgard.
Oh boy, he started coming down a little bit too early there. He almost got into Nick Massey. Looks like they're going to still be side by side, still three wide. Here comes Tyler Fody putting himself into the blender. He's going to go underneath Chad Frankenfield there. Going into turn number one, it looks like they are still going to be able to hold it. Chad threw it in quite a bit. He's going to try to see if he can clear himself. It's getting dicey already starting out in this race.
Yeah, Tyler Fody's got a bit of a, he's an orange number there. He's not locked into anything, but, three wide on lap one, and he willingly took himself three wide on lap one. That's something he can afford because he's got a lot of those playoff points from a really dominant regular season. He won a lot of stages. I think Tyler Fody's kind of aware of who he's racing around right now. He knows it's Chad. It's one of those guys you just have to be a little bit more cautious around, but Fody also knows he's got a pretty big points gap. Not a whole lot to worry about. Guy who might be a little more worried running where he is right now is Tate Lytle running back there at ninth. He probably doesn't want to be quite in that hornet's nest. He probably wants to start moving forward as soon as he can and kind of clear himself with some of these guys.
Oh, sideways in front of him, as you were just talking about, was the 84 of Wyatt Canado. Got sideways coming out of turn number 4, and it looks like Tate Lytle was able to get around him, but that did cause a little bit of a checkup and a little bit of spacing between them and 7th place driver of Leighton Norgard. Side by side is Chad Frankenfield up there. He's going to try to dive it in there. Chad is being super aggressive early on into this race. The question mark was going to be how much tire wear is in this car here tonight. We're going to find out probably fairly easily with just judging how Chad Frankenfield is able to stay up at the front of the field.
You can tell, right? I mean, Tyler Fody trying to kind of go away from Chad Frankenfield. He wants to move on past that 15 car if he can get there. Nick Massey trying to hold Frankenfield off on the top side. Fody trying to follow Massey through. Chevys working together against the Ford of Frankenfield. And behind them, Josh Personette, I think, slapped the wall coming off of turn 4 last time. We'll see if that affects the 18 car. Other than that, it's been a fairly clean start up at the front. The battle between Frankenfield and Massey that we're watching is the first side-by-side battle until you get back to Trey Holmes up in 12th spot, and he's just now getting around Garrison Hogan.
It is no surprise seeing Nick Massey up front there, even though he's had a rough season. He is our previous winner here. It has been quite a few seasons since we've raced here, and not ever have we raced here with this generation of Cup cars. So these drivers, a lot of unknowns going into tonight, and right now it looks like everyone's trying to space themselves out, and we have some really good green flag racing going on.
A lot of different lanes being chosen, but it looks like that outside line can be used to defend. Chad Frankenfield defends from Tyler Fody on that outside lane. Fody had gotten underneath of him, but Frankenfield able to hold Tyler Fody off up top. We're seeing it also with Justin Fortner and Justin Vandermarl, both Justins, battling side by side. But the yellow flag is now out. Scott Crump might be involved in that. He was in the wall.
No. There's a car facing backwards on the outside wall. Not sure exactly who it was.
I think Johnny. I'm not sure if Johnny Thomas got a piece of this. I
We're
think
going
this
to
is
get a
up in
view.
front
I
of
don't think
Mark.
this is where the wreck happened. We're going to have a good view of at least where the wreck would have taken place at.
It's like somebody got
Oh,
loose
someone
right
got
there in front of
loose.
Scott Crump, and Crump's
Right in
gonna get
front of
hit.
Scott.
Oh, Johnny Thomas is gonna
Oh,
get a lot of damage there. Oh, and
Jeff
Jeff Green.
Green. Jeff Green was the driver around. Just a little too loose, I do believe. And around goes Jeff Green and Racimus there. Johnny Thomas was hard up against the wall. I think Scott Crump's got a little bit of damage, but
He
I don't,
does,
I don't,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it was that much. We're gonna see here. Oh yeah,
Big. And the
yeah.
hit from Johnny into the back of Scott Crump, that's the one that's going to do the most damage. But I think Johnny and Jeff Green are the two cars that are going to get the worst of this. Unfortunate for Johnny, he had a really good run last week. We got to interview him. He finished third.
He's
Now
gonna have a hard time coming back for another top 3.
yeah, the right front tire definitely not pointing the right direction right now on that 91 car. And nothing you can do. Car breaks loose in the center of the corner in front of you. And the car in front of you slows down abruptly, and there's not really anywhere you can go at that point if you're the 91 car.
I would say it's not quite a mile and a half track. Nashville is, but it's considered a mile and a half essentially a track. I would designate this as one of the more technical mile and a half tracks that the NASCAR circuit is running currently. Just very difficult racetrack. If you're not running the bottom lane, uh, there's really it's really hard to get the outside lane going unless if you're really stomping down the throttle. And unfortunately for Jeff Green, I think he might have stomped it maybe just a bit too hard there, and around he went as we go through the field here. No one deciding to come down pit road. We had 5 sets of tires for these drivers, 4 in the pits, and all of them have decided to save them.
Yep.
Now that leads me to believe either one of two things: either they think there's a lot of cautions still yet to come, or the tire wear is not as bad as they may have thought. So it's one of those two things. Which one it is, I'm not yet sure. And I'm not sure if these drivers know for certain which one it is.
Yeah, I think 10 laps in, it's maybe a little early to take one of those tire sets. Maybe if you get a caution in 10 more green flag laps, then you'll have a better opportunity to kind of understand how those lap times are falling off. But I'm certain a lot of those guys were just riding at the beginning of this run and weren't really pushing their right front tire at all, and feel perfectly okay with running it back with that set of tires and trying to make it stretch to that first pit stop.
Well, the pace car lights are off. It's going to be back over to Ethan Stanley. He had a really good start there and was able to hold that bottom line. I really think that it's as a leader, it's probably the most key thing that you can do is to be able to keep that that bottom lane from anyone jumping underneath of you, and that's kind of where Ethan Stanley's focus has been early on in this round. Pace car is down. We're going to be back over to the restart lane. See if Ethan Stanley's able to get a good jump like he did last time.
He did.
A little sideways, but
Huge
yeah, he
jump.
got it down hard on the throttle. He's going to be able to get a couple car lengths on him.
Good jump for Ethan Stanley, and the weakness we've seen for Ethan Stanley is not leading laps, as Matthew Weeks gets second from his teammate David Tooker. It's not leading laps. Stanley's been up front all season long. He's led a number of laps this year. It has been the long run. Can Ethan Stanley keep the tires on that 92 next-gen car? I mean, I've raced with Stanley in other series, in other cars, and he's extremely good at saving the tires on those other cars, but this next-gen car seems to be evading him just a little bit in terms of that tire saving, and when Stanley's able to tire save, he's really, really difficult to beat. So if he can figure that out, especially at a track like Nashville, he'll be very, very formidable down the stretch in this race.
I think the biggest thing that's helped him here, the last few races, he's been qualifying almost outside the top 20 for most of the races. He's been starting so far deep in the field compared to his teammates that all start up at the front. He got pole here tonight, so now he is able to kind of focus. He doesn't have to do the hard charging award. He's already at the front. There's no one to pass. He can just focus on the tire saving. And like you said, if he can get back to the ways of old where he was really good on the tire saving, that was his strong suit for a long time and has gotten away from it. But there's no time like the present time, and that's exactly where Ethan Stanley is. If he wins here tonight, it doesn't matter how you did in those other 16 races in the season. you've locked yourself into the Final Four and have a chance at a championship.
We had a little incident. Kyle Hanshaw went around on the back straightaway as Matthew Weeks hunts for the race lead. It was lap 12 for Hanshaw. We can queue up that replay here at some point, Dave. I was thinking maybe not now because there was a battle for the lead, but that's okay. Let's take a quick look at this incident that happened. I'll keep an eye on the battle for the lead as I believe Hanshaw checked the center of the corner. Scott Crump got into Christopher.
Scott Crump again.
And that sent Kyle Hanshaw around. You might see the smoke on your broadcast, the tire marks in the infield, and that's where those came from.
I think Scott Crump is really going to go back to how this qualifying has messed up his chances at being able to get a win in this round. But he's so far back in points right now. I think he is the farthest, or second farthest. I think Nick Indelicato was farthest in points. Scott Crump and Nick Indelicato, those drivers like that, are pretty much in a must-win situation. And I don't know if Scott Crump really felt like this was his chance to win at this track. I think that might be the next track. That's Richmond coming up for the next race, and that's kind of where his his speed really is going to come into factor.
Nick Indelicato didn't even show up for this race tonight, so Indelicato's definitely a must-win, and Scott Crump probably as well, especially after the way this race has started. The guy who's not a must-win is fighting for the lead with Ethan Stanley. That's Matthew Weeks. He and Tyler Fode have that big points advantage that I talked about. Those guys can probably make it in on points if there is no extra winner. As there's a little bit of contact between the 92 and the 11. David Tooker with that bump draft sent Matthew Weeks into the corner just a little bit faster than he wanted to go.
You don't think Matthew Weeks remembers how much he was getting blocked by those Lake Norman cars? Couldn't make passes all last week due to the fact that they were running the outside lane. He's diving it hard trying to make this pass for the lead. That's kind of not been where his success has been so far lately, has been able to get those passes made. And right now Ethan Stanley doing a good job of holding him off on the outside. But here comes Chad Frankenfield, who says, I don't really care about your playoff aspirations. I just want to win. He hasn't won in so long. He wants to get this win in the Cup Series more than probably most people want the championship right now.
Yeah, I'm. Dave's mentioned that it's difficult to get statistics from Chad if he's not involved in them, and if we could get Chad's losing streak and maybe broadcast it, it might attract some eyes, because it really is true. He hasn't won in a while, but it's not for a lack of trying. We've seen him up at the front of the field a lot of races this season, but we've seen some issues on pit road. We've seen some issues tire saving. We've seen some issues with drivers on the track around him where he's put himself in a bad position. And that's kind of how Chad races, really. But it's something that's coming back to bite him, and we'll see if Chad can maybe take the advantage the track position's given him in this race and get something from it tonight.
I think the biggest issue for Chad is that his foot is full of holes from all the times he shot it. So that's kind of his problem is that
eventually you run out of you hit a hole.
He's gonna end up being able to just miss the foot by just shooting through the hole, because he has found every situation that he can be able to lose a race. I've seen him lose it within 5 laps of the race after leading the majority of the race. I've seen him with a massive lead spin it on pit road. It just doesn't matter. Chad will find a way. So it just depends on what caliber bullet he has for his foot this time around.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are really quality drivers too. It's not like you can get away with small mistakes in this series. We've seen it. We've seen it from Scott Crump in this race tonight, right? A bad qualifying run, then he's involved in the first wreck, and he's already been involved in another incident. There's Justin Fortner bouncing it off the outside wall with Ethan Burrell to his inside. It's just those small mistakes. You can't make those in this series. We've got so many talented guys. It's a very difficult, tight series to win races in. So you have to make up as much as you can on the margins. Be perfect in the stuff that you can control, and a guy who has definitely not been perfect in the things he can control is Chad Frankenfield. So that's why he's winless. That's why he's out of the chase at this point.
In shot right there, Ethan Burrell making some very good headway in this race early on. Started from the 28th position up to 16th right now. So trying to see if he can find his way on the outside right now. And I was wondering, I said the bottom was going to be the most successful way to get around here, but right now with passes, the outside seems to be the easier way. He's about to pass another driver on the outside. That's a Leighton Norgard, who probably has dropped back further than anyone in the field, started from the 4th position, heading in the wrong direction.
Norgard not finding it easy to kind of save on the bottom of the racetrack. And, I think the bottom is the way you want to save tire, but the top is the way you want to make passes, right? The top has that momentum. The top, you can kind of pinch the other car down, force them to take a shallower corner exit. And, when you're turning that wheel more, it's going to burn your right front tire a lot more. So as we watch David Tooker try to hunt underneath Chad Frankenfield, Chad can hold Tooker off, even though Tooker maybe is a little bit faster right now because he was able to get underneath. Chad can force Tooker into, taking a shallower corner exit here, and it'll prevent that 19 from getting around the 15 with any ease. It might be easier for Tooker to go after him on the top side of the racetrack.
I don't know if I would ever want to put myself in a position like this, racing for a chance to try to make it in, and having to try to race. That was very mature of Chad.
Yeah, there you go.
It was surprising. Yeah. Chad actually let the 19 of David Tooker by. That's something that we haven't seen that very often this season. Chad is known for his aggressive ability to be able to put the block on drivers, and right there he played some valor there and dropped back to race the race and keep his position. Now he's going to have Nick Massey, which I think is going to be the sleeper pick tonight. Even though he has not had success in this car, he's won twice in the Cup Series prior to this generation of car. So a driver that looks forward to coming to Nashville pretty heavily.
Yeah, Nick Massey is a guy that I'm surprised we haven't seen more of him this season, but Massey will, I think, tell you last week was one of his stronger weeks, right? Qualified on pole. He and Johnny Thomas took left side tires on that first pit stop last week, and that dropped them all the way to the very back of the field. And remember, Johnny missed the big wreck. Nick was involved in the big wreck, and once we got there, Nick was, of course, a little bit disappointed with himself, but he said, look, we had the speed. It was just one of those small mistakes. And here's Nick Massey running in the top 5. Seems like he's got a good car. Seems like he's got some potential to run up front all night tonight. He's a guy we know is good on it, good with his tires. He saves his tires pretty well. Here he goes to the outside of Chad Frankenfield, trying to make that pass, like we said, with that outside lane kind of being his preferred passing lane, and then he'll go right back to the bottom once he clears Chad. And it seems like Chad did not put up a fight, and it did race the track. So, hey, like you said, Gerald, some mature racing from Chad Frankenfield as Nick Massey goes around.
Well, one driver we have to state back there, Scott Crump. He has been in a few scuffles here tonight early on. Right now in a big scuffle once again around Rucker, who Rucker's been a little bit of a pinball I've watched for the last few laps here, beating and banging off a few cars, having some difficult times getting around. Makes it a little easier whenever you have a car to the outside to bang against Rucker. So he's been able to stay up there, but right now Scott Crump, with as many wrecks as he has been, still making his way up to the front. Just kind of shows the reliability of this car, up to 23rd after being as far back as 33rd after having to get some damage fixed on the front bumper, and still trying to find his way up to the front. He still has 120 laps to have his say as to what he can be able to accomplish. He's hoping in some shape or form this ends up being a fuel mileage race, considering how successful that's been to him in the Xfinity Series the last few races.
Yeah, he's pretty good at saving the fuel, as Scott Crump. He's following Jonathan Cutlip up through there, and Cutlip, one of those guys that got kicked out at Talladega from this playoff format. Maybe not so deserving of getting kicked out. Cutlip's been one of the stronger cars this season, but he started in the back in this one. He's working his way forward as we have migrated up to the front of the field, away from the Scott Crump and Jonathan Cutlip trio. We'll check back with them in a little bit. Here's Tyler Fode going after Chad Frankenfield. It looks like that adventure to the front of the field has burned off the right front of this.
Oh boy! Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yep.
Rucker went 3 wide and then almost hooked Scott Crump there.
He's trying to take Ty McIntosh out right here in turn 2. Oh, Gavin Hibbs at the wall.
That's not something
shocking. He won a race and everything, and we're still getting him for it.
Yeah.
He might be damaged too. I think Gavin's got some issues.
Yeah, 4 wide right here. Oh, Rucker getting in and slamming him. He's slamming him there. Rucker was not happy. Ty McIntosh, we're gonna have to, if they can somehow save it here, might want to go back just to see that, because Ty McIntosh nearly spun
this is gonna be a wreck.
Rucker around. He's trying to get back underneath him. Rucker's not happy right now.
No, Sonny D is it's not bringing a smile to anyone's face. Hunter Smith there on the bottom. Ty McIntosh in front. Gavin Hibbs was the car falling to the back in that 95 that made it 4 wide for a second. Yeah, Rucker seems to be a little, he's in the wall now. So yeah, this 64 car's been an adventure tonight.
If we can go back maybe just 2 laps, it was almost done for Scott Crump there. Rucker,
it was very close.
Yeah, he got hooked and he barely missed the back bumper of Scott Crump, and that could have been real bad for Scott Crump.
Yeah. It's I think the lap before this right here, because there's the 4 wide incident. Yeah. Rucker was on the front straightaway.
Right there now.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, little bump from Ty. That might have been what Rucker was a little incensed about, and then there's the big moment.
that was close. That was really close, and I think that way might be what got Scott or Rucker maybe a little hot under the collar there. But up front here, Chad Frankenfield, we were wondering how tires were going to handle when you burn them up in the beginning. Well, this is about what you expect from him. Chad Frankenfield is on the hot bus to the back.
That right front tire definitely hurt from running that top lane so heavily in the early part of the run. And Chad heading backwards now. Fode's gotten by, Ryan Gable's gotten by, Garrison Hogan's gotten by, and Tate Lytle is working on the 15 car now for that 8th position. Up front, Ethan Stanley continues to lead. Matthew Weeks has reeled him in pretty significantly, and David Tooker is even closer to Matthew Weeks than he has been in the last couple of laps. Tooker might even be the fastest car of this front 3 right now. He is by lap time ever so slightly, and all 3 of these guys are kind of gapping Nick Massey right now. That gap is up to 1.7 seconds.
Well, as we've seen, catching him is one thing, getting around him is another. So far, Ethan Stanley, with that clean air, has shown how keen it is to be in that clean air. The question is he pushing it too hard? Or all 3 of those drivers pushing it maybe a little bit too hard? Maybe like a driver like Tate Lytle or some of those that have been staying back there in that 2 or 3 second range. Are they going to have the long run speed? Because pit stops here, it is a smaller track than a mile and a half, so they can go up to, I think, about 60 laps before they need to pit. So they can go quite a bit.
The fastest car in the top 10 that time by was this one that we're watching right here, Tyler Fode. He ran a 30.209 last lap. That was a 10th faster than the race leader, Ethan Stanley, 2/10 faster than this car he's going after right now, Nick Massey. I think you'll see Nick Massey yield this position and fall in line behind the 40 car. It seems like Tyler Fode has saved the tires quite well on that 40 car, and he's starting to move towards the front.
And I'm just watching back there. There's some drivers that are slip and sliding right now. Brent Jones, one of those Rucker back there. It's getting a little crazy back there. I think if they're going to be a caution, it's going to be one of these guys that are having a hard time keeping the car underneath them. A couple of them are coming out of the turns and just slamming the wall right now.
Gavin Hibbs line, we call that.
Yeah. For him, though, this is the first time we've seen the wall actually affect him in the reverse. It's usually helping him.
Yeah, I think he's also gotten it back. He's right there with Andrew Rucker. But, Hibbs had gotten the wall, got up a little too high, and lost a bunch of track position. So he's going to have to be climbing back through this race, that 95 car. I do want to point out that Ethan Burrell has climbed to 12th. After starting 28th in this race. Obviously, not much care given to qualifying, given that Ethan Burrell is locked into the championship finale at, I believe, Kansas. And we'll see if Ethan can go out there and pick up another win and kind of open up that points battle a little bit. For now, this car looks pretty fast, pretty sporty. I think Ethan Burrell can make some noise later on when he picks up some track position.
Up front, Weeks was underneath, and he got loose. Oh, boy, he lost a little bit of time there. But Matthew Weeks trying to make a run back on Ethan Stanley. He's been having a little different line, and it's been showing a little bit of success. He's been able to get right onto the back bumper of Ethan Stanley. He's been going in high and then coming down low. But now Ethan Stanley taking that high side away from him again. He's going to see if he can be able to get that bottom lane rolling. That's kind of been his Achilles heel. It's just not able to get that bottom lane to his liking to be able to make the pass when the driver on the outside is able to have the momentum. Is Matthew Weeks going to have to use him up a little bit, get him up the racetrack to get that position?
Oh, he did right there.
Boy. Oh, I call it.
And that was a little, I mean, that was a little car in the, tight in the center of the corner for Matthew Weeks. Don't think he was trying to shove up into Ethan Stanley right there, but that was just the natural motion of the car up the racetrack on that tight corner exit. And it's happening once again. And that's why the outside lane is a more preferred lane. You can kind of open up that wheel and get a better exit on that, off of that corner. And Matthew Weeks will have to hold back from getting the race lead for now.
Well, we saw it last week at Kansas. Weeks had probably one of the fastest cars. Got up to Tyler Fode, could not get around him, and burnt his stuff up. And that allowed, and he fought with Fode for so long that Tate Lytle was able to get around both of them very quickly and almost win the race on Ethan Stanley. What could have been if Matthew Weeks could have gotten around Tyler Fode easier.
Here he goes.
Oh, this is his best shot. Oh, boy, Ethan Stanley cut him off. Matthew Weeks is not going to like that. He will absolutely remember that, and I think he's going to count that as maybe one time too many from Ethan Stanley, and we're going to see maybe a shove.
I don't think that was. We had an angle on that was pretty. It looked like he would have hooked him, but I don't think that Weeks actually had a bumper alongside. I think Weeks was trying to get to the top. There wasn't enough run to actually get to the right rear of Stanley, because had Stanley come up and not been clear, they would have both been in the wall. So I don't think there was much of a block there. It's just Weeks was looking high, but he didn't actually get the run.
Weeks has really got that line going where he can hook the high side and then cut down, but it's not producing the results when he gets to the underside of him. I mean, he's able to catch him at any point in time, and it's producing some amazing racing up front here for everyone to watch, but it is making it so hard for Matthew Weeks. He even has a helper behind him trying to push him by. This might be his best shot. He's up farther. Oh, he's beating and banging.
Yeah. Weeks trying his best on that bottom side, but it's just not the preferred line. And all this battling has slowed this group down 2 to 3 tenths a lap. Tyler Fode is now right on the back bumper of David Tooker. Tate Lytle is now within the picture as well. This is a 5-car race for the win. And Weeks up top of the track again, into the door of Stanley, gets into him again. Can David Tooker take advantage? I think Tooker's trying to help his teammate a little too much here. At some point, you got to go ahead and go if you're David Tooker. I think Tooker could have taken him 3 wide right there and gotten the race lead.
Lake Norman up top, Pro Edge down below. Here comes Tyler Fode. He says, I can help shove my teammate as well. He's going to be to the outside. He makes it look easy getting around David Tooker. Matthew Weeks is not going to be happy. He's going to probably use up Tyler Fode a little bit here. He remembers last week. Oh, he said he wasn't angry about it, but we're about to find out if that's the case.
Last week was hard racing. This week it's hard racing again. And once again, I mean, Ethan Stanley's doing everything right? He's running that preferred defensive lane. Now his teammate Tyler Fode's gotten up front. It's Lake Norman 1-2, Pro Edge 3, 4, 5. David Tooker finally to the outside of Matthew Weeks, and I think Tooker might have a little bit of a faster car. He hasn't really been burning the right front off, trying to run that bottom lane underneath Ethan Stanley. He's been kind of, coasting it into the corners a little bit more, keeping that arc on corner exit, and it's allowed that 19 car to save a little bit more tire. He is clean into third, and Tate Lytle will probably take 4th from Weeks here as well.
Yeah, top 6 are all Pro Edge and Lake Norman. 3 Pro Edge, 3 Lake Norman. We have Gable in 6th place there. He's also one of the Lake Norman guys. He's going to try to go up there and try to help his teammates out if he can. One of those drivers falling back still, Chad Frankenfield. Well, he is now outside the top 10, coming down pit road. He has decided he has had enough on those tires. We had a feeling that he might be one of the first ones to come down pit road. He's got nothing to lose. He's not going for a championship. Maybe play some tire strategy here and see if he can be able to make it work. Oh, I think I see what you saw. Tyler Fode almost hit the wall, and David Tooker almost took him out with him.
Yep, Tyler Fode got real tight in the center of the corner right there, and David Tooker had a big run down the back straightaway and gave him a bump draft, and it almost was sideways. Oh, Gable in the wall.
And I think that was Garrison Hogan. Yeah, they got into it pretty hard. That's a lot of damage for the 01 there. He hit the wall hard.
19 car just hit the 40 car again. Up front, not sure. Yeah, we might need to go get a replay of Gable and Hogan, but for now, the battle's for second. Tooker fires it underneath Fode.
Oh, he's going to shove him up the racetrack. He's still hitting them.
Tate Lytle's going to get to go around Tyler Fode and one of his teammates 3 wide again, 2 weeks in a row.
This is like Marvel versus Capcom here. There is a
Yep.
fight. It is a fight going on right now.
Hooker's not being nearly as nice as Matthew Weeks was.
No, I think he's letting his frustration be known here.
And this is just how you run this racetrack, right? The next gen car is a drafty car. These are long straightaways. You'll get the run if you're behind somebody. If you have a good corner and that draft, you can kind of catch up to them. You can jump inside, but if you run that outside lane like Ethan Stanley and Tyler Fode have, you can defend. And I think they've shown that that's the right way to do things here.
I think what makes this even better is the fact that they are all within the points too. They are all racing and trying to not have a bad race, because every single one of these drivers in the top 6 can point themselves into the race, into the championship as well. So none of them want.
Oh, Fode in the wall!
Fode hit the wall hard coming out of 4. That might be.
Yeah, that's not good. That
might be toe out. If that car survives this, that's a Terminator.
You need 20 more laps to get to, maybe a little less than 20 more laps to get to being able to make this thing on one stop. Tyler Fode is going to have to run 20 laps with damage on that right front, and he might not be able to fix it under green flag pit stop, so that damage might linger on this 40 car. You can see it's tough for Tooker to pass even a damaged 40 of Tyler Fode, and Tate Lytle is clear into second. He will now set his sights on Ethan Stanley. It'll be the, 4th driver to take over second place behind this 92 car?
You want to hear something incredible, David? Scott Crump is up to 12th place right now.
That's not even incredible. We knew Scott was going to be good. It's just surprising that he's made it there maybe so quickly with the damage he's got, right? I mean we figured Scott Crump would be up front in this one.
Yeah, but with 2 wrecks essentially coming off the front nose and having to be in the back twice, he is, and no cautions to help him on a track that's very difficult to make passes. We've seen that.
Oh yeah.
He's not out of this chance for being able to win it.
He's going to need, I think, some cautions and maybe some brakes. But Tyler Fode's car doesn't seem to be too damaged, as here comes Tate Lytle for the race lead.
Throws it in there. Wow, he was able to wrap around the bottom better than I've seen anybody do without it bobbling once. I mean, if anybody can make the bottom pass right now, it might be Tate Lytle. I've never seen... I haven't seen anyone have this ability to be able to get the bottom, and then I say
there's where it is. Yep, there it is right there. That's where everyone's been struggling, is that corner. Once you're alongside, being able to clear. Now Tyler Fode's up top, David Tooker's up top, trying to pinch Tate Lytle down and make it so he is unable to wrap the bottom. Seems like he's a little better at 3 and 4 though.
I think people are going to want to measure the back bumper of that 92 after the race to make sure it's legal, because it is wider than it probably should be. It's going to probably only have...
He
threw it in there. That's going to allow
the
92 to be able to get underneath him, clear him.
Didn't work.
He does.
Yep, and now Fode gets locked up behind. Here comes David Tooker to the inside. 6-car battle. Here comes Garrison Hogan, too.
All on top of each other right now. And they are... Oh, boy. I don't know. I would almost want to just pit so that way you could just avoid this, to be honest.
Yeah, you have to be able to make it on one stop. I think you can get to 75 and make it on one stop.
With the cautions we've had, yeah, you're probably right.
Garrison Hogan able to get around Matthew Weeks right here. He's going to charge up to the top side and try to get around David Tooker as well. That's one of our guys in the chase. Move Garrison Hogan into the top 5, and he's certainly looking strong as Lytle's underneath Stanley once again, but that outside line's just so strong.
It has to be for those drivers to catch up to Ethan Stanley, get underneath them, and then just lose it all and not be able to make the pass, and then you get stuck on the bottom. It's got to be so frustrating.
That's this next gen car.
Tate Lytle.
There it is.
Fode did not help his teammate there. I think he got him a little loose. He threw it in there and almost made contact. And I think Ethan Stanley had to go up the racetrack just a little bit, and that allowed Tate Lytle finally to be able to clear. I think Tate Lytle's going to take off from the field now.
Big move for Tate Lytle there. Let's see what kind of lap time he runs. He does get up a 2/10 advantage over Ethan Stanley, and I think the right front tire is a little worn on that 92 car from having to run the top side so much, kind of out of necessity of trying to defend the race lead. And you see, both Lytle and Stanley are orange numbers, right? Those guys are not in this chase currently. They need a big number of points, and they need race wins. And right now Ethan Stanley maybe having to look forward towards the pit stop and see if he can't maybe short pit and try and get an advantage that way. But tough break for Ethan Stanley as now he yields second to teammate Tyler Fode.
I mean, last week was Las Vegas, but these drivers are driving like the ball is dropped here, and they have to win it here. I mean, that's just how they're driving right now. They're all pushing it right now. Fode now is going to try to see if he can get back up there to Tate Lytle. Tate Lytle has such a beautiful line, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just watch Tate Lytle's line, he's able to get through the corners so well. And we were wondering how long Stanley could survive on those tires. He was a lot better, I think, this time around on how he could keep those tires alive, but it's still his weak subject right now.
Yep. Over the long haul, some of these guys just tend to eat that 92 car up in this next-gen car, and for whatever reason, Ethan Stanley unable to kind of keep the track position he gains early in the runs.
I don't know. If I'm Ethan
took her to the wall.
At this point, oh boy. If I'm Ethan Stanley, you have to. I know Las Vegas was last week, but you've got to gamble it here, and you've got to try to see because
he's really far back.
Yeah, he's really far back in the points, and he needs to. He might want to try to see if he can come down pit road, get the lead back with green flag pit stops here.
Yeah, it depends on how long you can go on that fuel tank, right? I mean, I would say the big gambler is Chad Frankenfield, who's trying to stop this race. Chad's going to need a caution flag, I think, to win this thing. But, Stanley, maybe he can short pit by a lap or two on some of these guys and pick up some of the ground that he's lost. As Tyler Fode is not letting Tate Lytle get away right now. That 40 car is within touch of the 56, and he's the only one.
Chad Frankenfield hard into the wall. Roll right in front of Ethan Burrell. All the bumpers are off of his car right now.
Oh my. There's the caution flag Chad needed. He was the caution flag, it appears.
What happened here?
No. It's like Jesse got in the back of Chad and hard into the wall goes Chad. Scott Crump barely dodges one.
Hey, Scott, you missed one.
He missed one. Oh, we're going to need to be on board with Ethan Burrell.
Yeah. That was a hard hit for Chad.
And we can run some commercials here after maybe one more replay, but Chad looks like he just got the bumper from Versemis and hard into the wall. Oh, Ethan committed. It's a good thing Ethan's locked in because that was almost the end of the championship for the old 37 car.
Yeah, hey, I heard Chad. He shot himself again.
He did.
In the foot.
Yeah, burned the tires off, tried to get get off strategy, and that turned into the issue there. So.
Yeah, bang, right in the foot. That's another race over for Chad, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and see if we can do, while the pit stops are underway, let's go ahead and see if we can do a sponsor readout real quick.
The NASCAR Cup Series returns to Worldwide Technology Raceway on June 1st and 2nd, 2024. The time to get your tickets is now. For only $10 down, you can lock in your seats for an incredible weekend of family fun, featuring the Enjoy Illinois 300 and the Confluence Music Festival. Racing, music, camping, it all adds up to one amazing party. Go to www.raceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
All right, this is the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. Belly Up Sports is the internet sports bar, sports commentary via podcasts, forums, and articles on topics ranging to nearly every sport. Not your usual sports site. Check them out on X or at bellyupsports.com. Our premier partners, Blue Egg Marketing. Rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing pit crew. Turbocharge your lead generation with experienced drivers that can navigate the competitive track to connecting with your customers. With Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels. Accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Worldwide Technology Raceway, formerly Gateway International Raceway, is a motorsport racing facility in Madison, Illinois, just east of St. Louis, Missouri. It features a 1.25-mile oval that hosts the NASCAR Cup Series, which I believe is this coming weekend, NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and the NTT IndyCar Series, a 2-mile infield road course used by Speed Tour Trans Am, SCCA, and Porsche Club of America, a quarter-mile NHRA-sanctioned drag strip that hosts the annual NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series Midwest Nationals event, and the Kart Plug, state-of-the-art karting facility. Those are our sponsors tonight, guys.
We appreciate you, Dave, as always. As these drivers are lined up, going to be going back green this time. Essentially, this has come down to a fuel mileage race again.
Maybe.
Somehow, in some way, Scott Crump is very happy. I think we're pretty close to a fuel mileage race at this point with where they're at.
I don't know. They can definitely get to 75. We were obviously all trying to get to that point. I don't know if they can go 80, and that's what they're going to need to go here on this run. If I were in the back, I would have topped off, made sure I could get there.
Yeah, but we've seen Scott Crump do crazier things. I mean, look at him now. He's up into the 9th position from the crazy hectic day that he had. Jeff Rigfield did exactly what he needed him to do, and that was get him up into the front with a timely caution for him. So couldn't worked out better for for Scott Crump to be able to have a shot. But we are going to be going back to the restart line. Tyler Fody able to jump out in front with the pit stop that he had, able to get an amazing restart here as the lights are about to come on to the racetrack. It's starting to get dark out there, as it looks like everyone in the top 10 is going to still be side by side almost.
I don't know, man. Well, we'll see if that was a good enough jump for Tyler Fody. These guys might get a run drafting back to him and be able to make that pass as Tate Lytle clears Garrison Hogan for that second position. Other than that, it's been a little bit chaotic in that midfield. Wyatt Canado way up to the top of the track. Wadsworth up to the top of the racetrack.
Some of those guys are starting to lose track of where the turn is. Very difficult part of this track is that if you miss your braking zone, you slide up the racetrack, and with it being concrete, it's so hard to get it back underneath you. And that's why we've seen so many drivers go and hit that outside wall, and when you hit it, it just slows you down so much.
Dave Lytle's already reeling in Tyler Fody, but you're absolutely right. We've seen, Tyler Fody was one of those cars that did hit the outside wall. Nick Massey sideways on the front straightaway, spinning in that 48 car.
No caution. They're still going to keep going.
Oh, no.
That's going to be pretty much how his luck has been this season.
Man.
Going to be in the back of the field needing a caution at this point.
Looked like he just got on the gas a little bit too early there on corner exit. Car was already loose on him from the middle of the corner, and he wound up losing control of it on corner exit.
I think he would rather be racing a shopping cart than this car. Oh, Scott Crump hard in the wall. Oh, he almost got hit. He's still getting hit by a couple cars as they're all swerving around him.
It was Trey Holmes.
Yeah, he slammed the wall there.
Trey Holmes came up next to him, and once he got next to Scott, the kind of side draft effect that we see in this next-gen car, got that 90 car tight on that corner exit, and Scott went right up into the outside wall, just like Gerald was just talking about.
Oh, right now he's side by side with the birthday boy, Jesse Racimus, the driver that turned Chad Frankenfield in that last.
Rawls loose.
Oh, Rawls sideways back there. I saw that.
He'll drop several positions there. Streaming by our McIntosh, Hunter Smith, Brent Jones, Richie Hearn, Josh Clark, all by Seth Rawls.
Up front here, it looks like the 92 going back to his old routine, trying to see if he can storm back up to the front. He's going to have a harder time. He was at the front of the field, so he was having a little bit easier time of being able to hold him off. But now He's got to try to make the passes back on the guys that were stuck behind him. And they saw what happened when he was in front of them. I don't think they're going to make it very easy on him to get back around him.
Yeah, they're not going to make it easy for him, that's for sure. But Ethan Stanley doing what we saw Chad Frankenfield do in that last run, and if they're going to be able to make it all the way, Watts, Van der Marl sideways right in front of teammate. They're trying to wreck here in 3.
That was close.
If there's going to be a wreck.
4 wide. Oh boy, they're still almost ready.
If they're going to be a wreck, then what I'm saying matters very little. But with 80 laps to go on that restart, you have got to take care of your tires. You cannot burn your right front tire off in this run like Chad Frankenfield did in the last run. You will spend 30 laps going forward and 50 laps going backwards. So you have got to take care of your stuff. Some of these guys don't seem to care. They think there's 15 laps to go. Right, McIntosh in the wall.
McIntosh in the wall.
Van der Marl underneath. Brent trying to get underneath him as well.
Right up there, it looks like Wadsworth is behind his closest rookie rival, the Leighton Norgard. Good rookie battle going on as well for this end of the season.
This is a really good battle to put it on because I think it shows who's saving their tires a little bit and who's not. Look how that 80 car fires it into the corner. That's a car not saving his right front tire, but Justin Wadsworth, the car that is saving his right front tire, being very ginger on that corner entry. But you can see if you are ginger and trying to save your stuff, then you get jumped all over.
Nothing frustrates you more than when you're trying to save tire and someone that comes up behind you dives it in 3 car lengths further that has no care in the world about your tires, nor their own, as he throws it in there underneath McIntosh again.
It's been a very racy restart. Oh, McIntosh into Van der Marl again.
Stanley around. Ethan Stanley in front of the field. No. He's going to get tagged a couple times, but it looks like, oh my gosh, he got lucky.
Seth Rawls is when we're gonna need an onboard on, but it looks like there is damage on the 92.
Yeah, front bumper hanging off of it right now.
Try to see who hit him here. Can't tell. Looks like did he get turned by the 11 car? We saw the 11 car turn somebody last week as well.
That is a
carbon copy. That is a carbon copy wreck of the wreck that we saw last week between Scott Crump and Matthew Weeks. Weeks it's Rasimus that hit Ethan Stanley.
Last week they said it was on Scott Crump.
They did.
I don't see how they can put that on anybody but Matthew Weeks on that one.
Yeah, at some point,
Matthew Weeks was way off from the bottom going up the racetrack. Ethan Stanley was not coming down. Last week it was more of a situational of Scott Crump coming down. I think Scott Crump even took admitted to it being on him. That time around, I think that was going to probably be called on Matthew Weeks.
Yeah, oh boy! Look at how little. Oh, Seth! Look how little Seth could see, but he takes the pit road. You do get a black flag on iRacing, but Race Control has cleared the black flag for Seth Rawls, so good evasive driving from that 25 car. And a lot of guys are heading down pit road. Yep.
They're all topping up on fuel, so they were close. I think this assures it now.
Yeah, they can.
We're gonna see one more time this incident here. Matthew Weeks.
Because Stanley's holding his lane here, but you have to drive to the bottom of the racetrack. Look at all 4 cars in front of Matthew Weeks. They have streamed to the bottom. Ethan Stanley riding on that top lane has got to believe that the 11 car is following the cars in front of him.
Yeah, that's more. Yeah, I mean Matthew Weeks is higher up than even the cars that are not side by side.
Like one time I would consider an accident. A lot of guys have taken 2 tires, by the way. The running order is all jumbled up. One time I'd consider an accident, right? Matthew Weeks just but this is 2 times in a row where he spun out a car by running the middle lane and not letting that car go down into the middle lane where he would otherwise anticipate to run. To me, that's you gotta take care of your fellow competitors a little bit better there. And Matthew Weeks is a clean driver, right? Everybody's kind of talked about, they like racing Matthew Weeks. They've enjoyed, his development as a driver in this series. He's one of our championship favorites, but that makes things very difficult if you're a fellow competitor that, you can't run side by side with the guy on the top of the racetrack. So he might spin you out on the straightaway.
Well, this has changed up the view from the front. Some drivers going with different types of strategy out front. I think Hanshaw stayed out.
He did.
Yep. And then Garrison Hogan, Trey Holmes, Ethan Burrell, and Rasimus, they did come down pit road.
Yeah, they'll have 2 right side tires, I believe, and then you'll see 4 from Fody, Lytle, Tooker,
Tucker.
Norgard Weeks.
Yeah, well, I think those two tires at Las Vegas last week did not work. We saw what happened with Nick Massey and with Johnny
They
Thomas.
took left side tires, so
Yeah,
that was not the move. The right side tires.
I'm hoping that they're not going to be too loose here.
Well, too loose is what we saw last week with those left side tire calls. I think the right side tires should be okay.
Have we heard what race control? If
They just said no racing deal.
No tally. Wow.
Yeah, I don't.
That I'm surprised with. I'll be honest.
I guess maybe I'm using two different pieces of evidence to support my thought that Matthew Weeks
last
probably
week I would say it was not
bottom.
Weeks. It was more of Scott Crump coming down. This week I think it's a little bit of the opposite. I'll be honest. That's crazy. That I don't think Ethan Stanley's going to be too happy about that having to be. I mean, he's still on pit road trying to get repairs fixed.
Yeah, that effectively, I think, unless Ethan Stanley's able to win next week, that does end Ethan Stanley's championship attempt.
I mean, that's why Scott Crump is so far back in points is from that contact. But again, I think also a lot of frustration for Matthew Weeks having to deal with these guys that he has essentially been the leading guy with the fastest car, getting stuck behind these Lake Norman guys that are refusing to let him by. And as much as it is a racing situation where they're all trying to go for the championship, I do think some of that has to apply to with how Matthew Weeks is probably handling the situation with some of this.
I mean, yes, but I don't know that there's malicious intent on Weeks' part either. I think it's just a little bit of
but he's going to race that ever slow. That he's going to race even tighter than than he had done in the normal season. We haven't seen these mistakes in the normal season with Matthew Weeks because people were giving a little bit more room, and maybe Matthew Weeks wasn't so worried. I mean, he's a regular season champion for a reason. He's been running up front very consistently, but we're seeing these contacts now start to be made, and I think a lot of it does have to be with the tight racing that they've had. Up front here, Hanshaw's going to have the restart. We really hope he's able to get the tires rolling. Not going to get sideways so far. Really good start from him.
That's
Very good start
Tyler
from
Fody.
Yeah, Tyler Fody didn't get going there. David Tucker's going to try to look to the bottom side. He's going to get side by side. Now these drivers with fresh tires are going to have to try to see if they can find a way quickly around Kyle Hanshaw and some of these two-tires. Hanshaw up the racetrack.
Here comes Burrell up the middle. Here comes Ethan, Racimus down to the bottom. He's blocking Tate off. Tate
they're
and Fody
on top of each other right now.
Oh, Fody and Tate make some contact there, but Fody's going to have that preferred lane. Trey Holmes to the race lead. Hogan to second. Racimus to third, but Burrell's going to get around Racimus for now. And the battle for fifth is between the two guys with four tires, and Fody and Lytle make contact.
These drivers are all on top of each other. There is no room given. There's nowhere to go. These drivers are trying to get the momentum their way, but right now they have slower traffic in front of them, and you just can't get around them easily.
And Tay Lytle has now lost 3 positions, and that effectively puts him in 4th among guys with 4 fresh tires. And the good on those 4 fresh tires, that's not going to last too long. These tires will even out. These 2 right side tires will, kind of get to the same speed as the 4 tires. These guys on 4 have to be aggressive and go get that track position from these guys on 2 as soon as they can. But here's Ethan Burrell going for second on Garrison Hogan. One guy locked into the playoffs. The other guy, making a gamble with a lot to lose. And Ethan Burrell, nothing to lose. He's up here trying to get himself another race win and hold somebody out, locking themselves into the chase or into the finale.
Well, I think he's just trying to do good. Another win here. Wow, what a
big block from Hogan.
Yeah, made sure Tyler Fody was not going to have the easy outside position there. I think that's all the consensus from everybody. The outside is probably the preferred way to get around right now if you're trying to make a quick pass. But right there you see Garrison Hogan trying to keep that from happening. Right now, Tate Lytle is trying to get around Racimus. He might. Oh, yeah, Racimus got a little loose. That's going to allow Tate Lytle now get clear.
Battle for the lead.
to try to take focus. Yeah, out front, Ethan Burrell. Wow, what a move.
37 car waited till past halfway in this one, but he is finally showing some muscle. Ethan Burrell has jumped out to the race lead, and he's definitely a little bit faster than his two tired counterparts behind. Tyler Fody is not making ground on this front three right now. Those four tires are not helping nearly as much as the two right side tires for Ethan Burrell and Trey Holmes. They are out to a half-second lead, and right now Fody's struggling a little bit. David Tooker's all over the back bumper of him.
Yeah, the sun came down and Ethan Burrell started to come alive. Some would say he had a bathroom break over the over the caution there, and maybe he's able to focus more on the race car. Who knows? It's now lighter. I think they need to put that back over the weights and see if that 37's lighter here. It looks like David Tooker's going to now try to take a look and will do so. Get to the outside of Tyler Fody. This is a very odd occurrence. Tyler Fody on the back foot, not able to have the handle underneath his car and losing spots here.
And not what Tyler Fody wanted was these Pro Edge cars to swarm him and jump to the outside, but he's kind of lost his team counterparts that were running up there against those guys. In Gable, we saw him get that right front damage with the battle with Hogan. Stanley's obviously been spun out, and Crump's been involved in some incidents. He's back in 11th. So, these team cars are able to sit up here and run together in these Toyotas, but Tyler Fody, and he's kind of by himself right now, and you can see it's really not working. He's lost that momentum. David Tooker's up into 4th, and Matthew Weeks working on Fody for 5th.
So far, really great racing out front here. Ethan Burrell trying to see if he can get away. He is the leading driver with 2 tires. The driver with 4 tires leading that pack is David Tooker in front of Tyler Fody there. So that gives you an idea. The driver that stayed out.
Hanshaw didn't work for Hanshaw. He's back in 20.
I was just about to say he fell. He fell pretty fast.
Yeah, he'll have an extra set of tires late in the race. Maybe it'll work out for him. Crump just about got run to the infield by Hunter Smith, who bounced it off the wall. That was about going to be the wreck right there. But for about the last lap and a half or so, the 54, the 90, the 35, they've all been kind of rubbing against each other a little bit, trying to cause an incident here around that 10th spot. But right now, it does belong to Scott Crump.
And we were wondering how this new car would handle around here, what the racing would look like. And so far, it's been tight racing. No one's been able to get away. And this is probably the biggest lead that we've seen right now. Ethan Burrell, 0.6 of a second in front of Trey Holmes, trying to break that draft, trying to see if he can set sail here. Gotta wonder, though, there's essentially, if we go green, they can make it all the way to the end. You don't want to burn your stuff up. Who is playing cat and mouse out there right now? Who is saving and who is trying to use their stuff up?
Yeah, I can tell you, Ethan Burrell don't care if he loses his stuff up and it doesn't work out for him, right? Like, that's the one thing we know for a fact. Ethan Burrell is cool with any results tonight. He will be racing for a championship in 2 weeks at Kansas. For now, he'll definitely be content to have that do-good Motorsports number 37 out in the wind, showing out, bleeding some laps, and giving it a shot to win this race. Garrison Hogan's a guy who needs points, though. He's definitely going to need those 2 tires to hold up the rest of the lane. Race Control has thrown up the tallies for our lap 2 incident and our lap 70 incident, our 2 cautions so far. Jeff Green and Jesse Racimus going to be listed at fault for those.
Well, really only
the racing incident for
2 cars out of the field. That's Chad Frankenfield and Jeff Green from Rex earlier. Still have 34 cars running and 33 of them on the lead lap. So some hard racing, and so far everyone doing a really good job of staying on track so far.
Yeah, we've definitely seen some incidents. Guys are racing near the back with some damage. Johnny Thomas, Ethan Stanley among those. But yeah, I mean, we've got we've had a lot of our fair share of packish side-by-side racing. The guy that is definitely using up his stuff but is moving forward is the 33 car of a Leighton Norgard. He has kind of thrown caution to the wind. He's gone around Jesse Racimus. He's gone around Tate Lytle. That's a car that's going to fall back here at some point once the good gets worn off of those 4 fresh tires. But a Leighton Norgard is moving forward at the moment into the top 10. Definitely want to mention it while he is still running there.
No, he's running out of time to be able to catch Justin Wadsworth for that rookie point lead. He's trying to see if he can gain some now, see if luck goes his way, because we only have this race and 2 others to decide this. And he is roughly, I believe, somewhere around like 30 points. Perfect. There we go. It's closed up quite a bit, actually. He is only 11 points behind Justin Mark.
That's 21.
So that rookie, is it 21? I don't know.
Yeah.
Great. 21 points. 21
Still pretty close.
points. Yeah, still pretty close, but he does need to start making up the points now.
Yeah, he does. And, I don't know that burning your stuff off in the middle of the run is the way to go, considering he was already about a 12th to 15th place car and had 4th fastest qualifying speed, but Norgard giving it a run here into the top 10, running with these guys that are run up front week in and week out, and I think that's probably wise. And hey, how about Jesse Racimus there, our Daytona winner, running back here in 9th. He obviously got into Chad Frankenfield a little bit earlier in the race, but so far he's had other than that contact, he's had a pretty clean night, and he's been able to keep this monster car up here in the top 10 once the strategy cycled out.
Well, I mean, if the chats are true, it is his birthday, so far having a pretty decent birthday run so far in this race. Kind of wishing he would have made it into the next round, because he's having a really good run here, at a shot to gain some more here before it's too long.
Yeah, he and Johnny Thomas both have had a good run in this round that, it would have been nice to see maybe what they could have done had they had that desperation of being in the playoffs. But for now, good run for Jesse Racimus.
Well, back out front, it's kind of starting going away there. We saw Ethan Burrell jump out to the front in front of Trey Holmes, and he got a distance away. Well, Garrison Hogan has now gotten around Trey Holmes, and so has David Tooker here.
Yeah, he's trying to.
And they've slowly been catching back up to Ethan Burrell. He's been losing that gap of a lead, either due to draft or tire wear. And it's starting to go back to where Ethan Burrell is going to have to play a little bit of defensive driving if he hopes to keep the lead here.
Right, behind Trey Holmes, who just lost that 3rd position to David Tooker, sits Tyler Fode, Matthew Weeks, and Tay Lytle. And, if I sound like a broken record, that's because those guys tend to run together every single week in this series. They just find each other. They're the front runners in this series for a reason, and they're all right on top of each other once again. I think Fode has backed off his pace intentionally to try and make it to the end with the best tires. And Weeks and Lytle are happy to oblige and also save their stuff. If it were me picking, I would think the 40, the 11, and the 56. If this race stays green, that's your battle for the win right there.
You say that, but I have seen Garrison Hogan do some incredible tire saving in the past and be able to really, on these 1.5 miles, find some way to be able to do incredible things with it. He is one of those drivers that is trying to lock himself with a win. Drivers that don't want to see that would probably be Tyler Fode and Matthew Weeks. If they're to be honest, they don't really care if Ethan Burrell wins the race. They just don't want any of those other guys to win a race, because they are so far out in points with how well they did in the regular season that essentially if we have a repeat winner of Ethan Burrell or a non-playoff driver win, they both go into Richmond with
Feeling locked.
Almost a locked-in situation, barring catastrophe at Richmond. So those 2 drivers would prefer not to have to race against each other at Richmond if Garrison Hogan doesn't go out there and win, or David Tooker. So again, though they're racing hard and would prefer to win and lock themselves in now, Ethan Burrell is not as big of a threat for them being out front.
No, they already know they have to fight Ethan Burrell at Kansas in a couple of weeks, so they're definitely big Ethan Burrell fans in this race if it doesn't happen to go their way. But I wouldn't count any of those 3 out yet. I think this is a very calculated maneuver to save those tires. But hey, let's shout out these front 3 of Burrell, Hogan, and Trey Holmes. What a call to take 2 tires, huh? I mean, it has worked out tremendously for them. Track position has been more important so far in this race than that left side tire, and that time they saved on pit road has absolutely shifted the tide of this race and given them an opportunity to win.
I also want to I keep looking back to Scott Crump and just wondering when he's going to make his move. He fought so hard to get up into the top 10, and then he kind of stagnated. He just kind of been sitting there. He's been in hard racing, but he hasn't really made any moves in progress for a while now.
What if that damage that he sustained on the rear of the car from Johnny Thomas, the nose of the car from bouncing off of Jeff Green and Kyle Hanshaw, I think, was the other one he bounced off of. What if that is affecting him and kind of creating a scenario where it's difficult for him to make moves once he's into this front group?
Maybe it's more noticeable with fresh air compared to being in the back where he was mired behind a lot of dirty air that was affecting it. Maybe it's showcasing it more, but I mean, from the outside view, it looks pretty clean, and I don't see him having too much of a handling issue. And down the straightaways, it doesn't look to be losing that much, but yeah, maybe. I mean, again, making passes outside the top 15, making passes within the top 10 are completely different beasts when you get to the Cup Series. It's top 15 in the Cup Series is going for a win in some other series. That's just how competitive the Cup Series is.
That's absolutely right. These guys are really talented, and we've seen, we try to address, guys having good runs and make sure we alert you guys of who's doing a good job in these series. Right behind Scott Crump today is Wyatt Knadel, as a big pass inside the top 10 as Tate Lytle takes over Matthew Weeks, but I do want to point out Wyatt Knadel having a really good run, running 11th right now, started 9th in this race, and he has been rock solid inside the top 15 all night long. So a really good run for Wyatt Knadel, a guy who we don't often call his name, but able to call it here tonight and note that he's having a strong run. He's been very clean. We haven't noticed him have any issues tonight. Hasn't run into anybody. Just been really solid up there in the top 15.
Absolutely. Another driver we'll have to make note of, Gavin Hobbs, starting to get back up to the front after slamming that wall. Just now threw it in underneath Wadsworth, able to make that pass. Wadsworth's going to go back underneath him. That is a battle for that 16th spot. So Gavin Hobbs still running very, 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 very hard. still somewhat better than what we saw earlier, where he was dropped back to the back of the field.
Just fascinating when we get back into this group here, and you look with Gavin Hobbs, Brent Jones, Ty McIntosh. Not as slight of any of these guys. These guys are really good. As Richie Hearn fires it in on Brent, we're seeing just a lot more tire usage in this group. We're seeing a lot of these guys throw it in really harshly, work really hard to saw on the wheel on that right front tire, playing a lot of defense and very clearly using up their stuff a little bit more than when we shift up to the front of the field and watch these guys kind of coasting it into the corner a little bit more. Even when they're racing, they're still able to save their tire a little bit. And I think that's kind of the difference between, 18th place and up here in the top 5.
Well, the battle for 4th position is on. Tate Lytle's been trying to get that bottom lane going there. Has gotten underneath Trey Holmes, but has not made that pass. Tyler Fode trying to see which lane he's going to follow. Tate Lytle threw it in there. Oh, he gets underneath.
Got into his teammate.
He ran into his teammate. Tate Lytle shot him up the racetrack. Tate Lytle's going to lose a few positions from that. Wow, he threw it in there extremely hard with no regard to his teammate there. Oh
man, Fode got in front of Tooker. Yep. Wow.
Get the hit from David Tooker. Tyler Fode trying to essentially push the dagger in deeper into Tyler Fode after his teammate did that move on him. And Tyler Fode now makes an easy pass around David Tooker. David Tooker is not going to be happy on the radio, probably with his teammate there in Discord.
Yeah, I mean, but you saw Tate Lytle went around Matthew Weeks, went around Tyler Fode, went around Trey Holmes. He's now up into 3rd. And I would say the 56 car starting to really make his move and start kind of pushing towards the lead. He's decided it's go time. Tyler Fode maybe on the back burner a little bit, kind of stuck because he wasn't ready to start going just yet. And he's now going to be kind of relying on Ethan Burrell and Garrison Hogan to hold back that 56 car to bring him back to Tyler Fode because Fode has not kept up pace with Tate Lytle once Tate turned it on.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the point standings real quickly. And we're going to showcase why that move Tate Lytle put on to Tooker is so very important here. It is due to the fact that they are right there next to each other. He is
7 points
behind David Tooker. Garrison Hogan's up there, and Garrison Hogan's running in the 2nd position. That just goes to show you he sees where they need to be at on points and is trying to make those spots up right now. Back out front, though, oh boy, Tate Lytle has turned it on right now.
Yeah, he has.
He is putting some amazing lap times together.
This is a significant move by this 56 car. We've seen him turn up the wick at will here and start to push. I have not seen a response from Tyler Fode or anybody else around him. Tate Lytle has kind of shifted into another gear, as it were.
where his speed comes from is entry in. He throws it in so much further than anybody. I mean, he gets right alongside him by the time they get to the middle of the turn, and then, I mean, he's able to just essentially force the guy out of the spot.
Right. And you can defend on that outside lane. We're watching Hogan defend, but there's just not a whole lot he can do now that those two right side tires are starting to show their wear. And Hogan yields second to Tate Lytle, and that is not good news for Tyler Fode and Matthew Weeks, who are kind of still searching for that opportunity to get up into this top group. The two-tire call by Hogan, Holmes, and Burrell has cemented them into the top 4 of this race, and they have been able to hold off Fode, Weeks, Tooker. You know, one thing I wonder, what about that damage from when Tyler Fode got into the wall pretty hard and kind of maybe damaged that right front? I wonder if the right front tire is starting to wear a little more on that 40 and tighten up that race car, where he is not able to have that kind of center corner speed that we're seeing from the 56 of Tate Lytle.
I think the 11 and the 40 are going to need to start racing each other a little harder, because I think if everything goes right here, Tate Lytle has the speed here. He may make quick work of Ethan Burrell to be able to get around him. He was not able to catch him at Las Vegas. Ran out of time, ran out of tire at Las Vegas, trying to make up for it here right now. He's got fresher tires. He's got 4 tires. He's going to try to take a look to the inside of Ethan Burrell, see if he can be able to now get his name in green and lock himself side by side coming out of turn 4. Tate Lytle and Ethan Burrell at the line. It is too close to tell. It was almost
it was Ethan Burrell by .002.
Wow. So right there shows you it's going to be incredible racing to the end, but Tate Lytle trying to see if he can be able to get himself clear here.
He's going to throw it into turn 3 right here.
Yeah,
Burrell threw it in as well up top.
Yeah, there's no tire save right now.
Tate's got a little bit more bite coming off the corner, but he was not able to clear Ethan. He will get the lead at the start finish line though. Give a bonus point to Tate Lytle.
I think he wants more than bonus points. He's going to be able to cook it around the bottom so well in turns 1 and 2 and clear himself easily out front. Tate Lytle now is going to be leading this. And now you hear a sigh from Matthew Weeks and Tyler Fode.
Speak of the devil, they are side by side.
Yeah, they both realize now it might come down to a battle between both of them, because they know next week is Richmond, a short track, different beast entirely. Drivers like Scott Crump, Ethan Stanley, drivers like those two. Oh, a corner spinning out in the grass. I think that's Joshua Clark backwards. Yep. Oh, stop! Don't come up the racetrack.
He got out of the server. It's a penalty in some leagues. I don't believe that's a penalty here.
I think you're not allowed to come back if you alt F4.
Gotcha. It's like Ty McIntosh gets bumped to the apron, and then Rucker gets into the fence, and Clark gets into Rucker. You know?
Yeah, Rucker hit the wall hard, and unfortunately 28 was the one suffering, but luckily is able to get the car stopped. No caution there. Still green flag on track here. That's what Tate Lytle wanted. To keep going green.
I believe they're in the same Discord chat. I'm certain Tate was requesting that he not bring out a yellow.
Well, we were seeing before that incident that Matthew Weeks and Tyler Fode were side by side. Matthew Weeks was still not able to get around Tyler Fode. I think Tyler Fode realizes he needs to hold him off. Where we're going in our train of thought was next week is going to be a short track at Richmond, which is Scott Crump's favorite racetrack. He's well known to do very well there, and as a driver like him being in a must-win situation, only 4 drivers make it into the final 4, obviously.
Yep.
That kind of goes hand in hand, but that would essentially mean 3 drivers win and they're in, and only 1 driver would be pointed in.
Yep.
Right now, our 2 lead candidates of being able to point their way in if they don't get a win are these 2 drivers on screen: the 40 and the 11. not Hanshaw. Unfortunately, not Hanshaw. Maybe next year.
That strategy did not work out for Kyle Hanshaw. He's lapped down. It is hurting the speed on that 46 car.
Yeah. So Matthew Weeks and Tyler Fode are very close in points. well and far ahead of anybody else on points. So essentially, it would come down to one of those two if we have a new winner this week and next week. So essentially, we can't say for certain, but essentially in our minds, that's pretty much what the case will be.
Right.
There's some hard racing still going on. We still may get a caution before it's all said and done here.
Tate Lytle is documented pretty well in the number of interviews we've had with him for a second place finish, third place finish, etc. The winning drought that he's encountered, and he's continued to say, man, I just really want to win one. This seems like the best chance we've seen from this 56 car, and I am certain that in the cockpit he is thinking, what could go wrong now? 20 laps to go. He's been here before. If the caution doesn't come out, you feel very good about the 56 bringing it home. What could go wrong?
Yeah, because he lost the lead earlier in the race under pit stops to Tyler Fode, so he already lost spots one time under caution. He does not want to see a caution again to have anybody else have a chance to be able to try a two strategy or a call to throw a Hail Mary at it and try to see. Because if we get a caution now, there's going to be a few drivers that try to do something or another to get themselves out front with how difficult it is to pass. So right now, Tate Lytle is just hoping for her green flag run to the end.
I'll certainly never begrudge drivers of trying something. I think it's always worth a shot, especially if you don't have anything to race for. Like with this group, these guys are racing for trophies. If they're not, in this, with the colored numbers on the side of the ticker there, and in order to get a trophy, you got to take some risks. So if the caution does come out, we will see alternating strategies. I believe the way is going to be taking two right side tires.
Car around in the back.
And there's
no caution yet.
Who was it?
Hanshaw hit the wall hard. He still spun out in the grass. I think that's Vandermeer. He's still in the grass.
Oh, it's Vandermeer. Oh, no.
Yeah, Kyle Hanshaw slammed the wall.
Vandermeer went for a ride.
Yeah, I mean, he rocketed into the grass. I don't know how that didn't cause a caution.
I think we're very fortunate. Well, Tate Lytle himself should be very thanking his lucky stars that the Josh Clark incident and then this incident did not result in a yellow flag.
This one was a little bit more, could have been a caution. Yeah.
Both of these could have been a caution.
He was completely sideways on track and they didn't throw a caution. So unfortunate for Vandermeer there, as he's gonna be deep in the pack there, but that could have been bad.
Big battle coming up for fourth. Trey Holmes' tires are starting to wear away, just like Ethan Burrell's. Fode and Weeks now the ones on the charge. They're going to go after the 88 and the 37, try to pick up that final podium position. Garrison Hogan is close to within a half a second of Tate Lytle, but with just those two right side tires, don't know that he's going to have any momentum to clear up and catch that 56. Fode tight on corner exit. Here comes Matthew Weeks to the bottom.
This is what Matthew Weeks needed. He needs Tyler Fode to get stuck behind that 88 there, Trey Holmes. He's trying desperately to make the bottom lane work. It has not worked for him all race long, and neither has going down the front straightaway as of late. So hopefully they're able to not get into contact. That's not what Weeks needs. He doesn't need the bingo board of Lake Norman drivers to turn around on straightaways, but they still side by side with him going down the back straightaway.
What's remarkable is that, one, if Matthew Weeks were to complete this pass on Tyler Fode, this would be the first time in 2 weeks that he has completed a pass on a Lake Norman car from the bottom of the racetrack under green flag conditions. And second, if he were to finish in front of Tyler Fode, this would be 2 weeks in a row that he finished in front of those Lake Norman cars on the racetrack, even though he was unable to pass them under green, which just goes to show you how important some of those things like track position are, and then also, hitting your pit stops, getting your pit strategy right, and all those other items.
Oh, I almost saw Leighton Norgard almost go around there. Him and the 54 of Smith made contact coming out of turn 2, and that almost sent him around. Oh, it looks like Gable hit the wall right in front of him. He's going to try to put a block. There's some hard racing right there in the top 10.
These are two, Gable and
out.
Cutlip bleaking out. Ryan Gable is a car that's got some right front damage. We know that for a fact. Fode's another car that's got a little bit of right front damage, and I'm willing to bet that's what's hampering him from running up the front. I think that's also hindering Ryan Gable's progress at this point as well, and he's kind of holding back Cutlip, Norgard, Smith, and White Canadian.
Right now, it is a 2-car battle at the front of the field. Really, only 2 drivers, if we go green here, that have a decent shot at that. That is Tate Lytle out front, and right behind him with 2 tires. He's been doing some impressive things with those older tires. Been able. Oh, cut lip almost back there, almost went into the wall. The 54 sent him up the racetrack. He slammed on the brake. That was almost a 4-car wreck. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that was.
They're hitting each other back there right now outside top 10.
This group is this. Oh, Canadal around. Oh, Smith through the grass. If they're gonna wreck, Smith's still in the grass. He saved it. Wadsworth in the wall.
Slammed into the back of the 84.
That group right there is Tate Lytle's worst enemy. Right now, they're trying to bring out a caution. They've done everything but spin out, and now Wadsworth's got some damage.
Wadsworth has a ton of damage. He slammed hard into the back of the 84. Now, Wadsworth has a ton of damage. He slammed into the back of the 84 pretty hard. Tyler able to get around Trey Holmes. Yeah, now he's going to set his sights on the 37 there of Ethan Burrell. Oh, boy. I'm not even driving for Tate Lytle's car, and I'm sweaty up here thinking that a caution is about to come out. It has been, if Tate Lytle goes back and watches this, he's going to be like, he's going to wonder how close it came, because it has been a few times where there has almost been a wreck. It has not been for a lack of trying.
There have been 3 separate incidents that could have resulted in a caution that did not. And if Tate Lytle is watching back, he should be thanking Josh Clark. He should be thanking Hunter Smith for hanging onto it on the grass, and Justin Vandermarl for hanging it onto it on the grass and not turning it back up onto the racetrack.
I don't think Tate Lytle has any ability to think outside of just trying to keep Garrison Hogan back. With 2 tires, Garrison Hogan slowly has been making his comeback at him, but he's going to run out of time here unless if he makes bigger swings at it right now. But incredible things by Garrison Hogan. If he would have had 4 tires, what could have been? Because he has been he's been incredibly fast with suboptimal tires.
Yeah, Hogan is definitely making up some ground, and he's about a mistake away from being right there on the back bumper of Tate. I don't think Tate's lead is pretty safe, but if he makes a mistake, that could open the door for Garrison Hogan.
Right now, Tate Lytle leads Garrison Hogan over Ethan Burrell. Right behind Ethan Burrell, Tyler Fody is trying to make his way up to him. Battle right there that you're seeing on screen. Justin Wadsworth, even with his damage, starting to make some of those positions back that he lost around the 84 there. That is a position of 14th as Wadsworth is trying to make his way forward.
Look who Wadsworth's right behind. He's right behind a Leighton Norgard now too. The rookie battle right there is
not going away.
Not going away, and if Wadsworth can get in front of Norgard, that'll feel very comfortable down towards the end of this season, that Wadsworth can hold him off and win Rookie of the Year.
The question is with Smith. Smith has made a lot of enemies in the last few laps with contact with a bunch of drivers. Now underneath both of those rookies onto his outside there. If there's a caution, it might come from this.
Yep. Smith's going to get around Norgard there. Battle is up front for 3rd place on the podium. Tyler Fody underneath Ethan Burrell with 5 laps to go. Going to try and use those 4 fresh tires versus the 2 of Ethan Burrell to sneak on by, grab that podium finish. Matthew Weeks has still been unable to get around a Lake Norman car.
Well, no matter how this finish ends up for the 37 there of Ethan Burrell, the 2 tires was a big success for him. He was not at any point in time up front nor running in the top 3, and having those 2 tires has definitely made him a factor here late in the run. So no matter what, oh my goodness,
that's not what you want.
The wall by Tyler Fody.
I don't know. Did Tyler Fody shift down and loosen the rear of the car? Ethan Burrell cannot be terribly thrilled, but again, that is the benefit of being locked into the show in 2 weeks, is that he gets 2 weeks to think about what Tyler Fody just did to him.
You don't think Matthew Weeks made note of that?
I think he sure did.
He's like, all right, that's how you make a pass on the bottom lane, huh? I could have done
that. Look at the speed gain that Fody has right there in the center of the corner.
Yeah,
he gets a big gain, but that's where it really
but no regard to the guy to the outside, essentially.
Yeah. And we saw it, right? Tyler Fody was up on top, Matthew Weeks down on the bottom, and that Weeks never did that to Tyler Fody.
Oh boy,
that is for sure.
We got to keep an eye on that. We got to keep an eye on the lead because Matthew Weeks is gonna remember that. But going down the back straightaway, Tate Lytle, he just needs to get to the white flag. That's all he needs to do. He needs to get to that white flag, and then it's all set in stone. He can be able to get back around here. It looks like he's going to be able to. So white flag for Tate Lytle here at Nashville. He's going to be able to come here to the concrete and get himself into the championship 4. He's going to try to see if he can do the elusive 4 championships in a lifetime here. Tate Lytle for Pro Edge Racing is going to try to get Toyota, the first Toyota, into the Final 4. Coming around turn 4, it's all Tate Lytle in the 56. Not the season he wanted to remember, but the way to get it started off for the championship round. Tate Lytle locks himself in at Nashville. Hendrick at the end too. Scott Crump is not going to be happy. Scott Crump just got turned at the flag stand. Hard hit for Scott Crump.
I don't know if he got turned. He kind of tried to keep going down into the grass. Maybe a little bit of a block on Ethan Burrell's part. We'll take a look at that replay before we view the Tate Lytle celebration here. And Ethan throwing a little bit of a block coming down to the start-finish line, and there you go. Let's. I'm gonna keep my eye on Ethan Burrell up here. Did he voice some displeasure with the 40 car? Maybe a little. Gave him a little hello on the way to pit road.
I think he took his displeasure a little bit with Scott Crump too.
A little bit, but Ethan Burrell will finish 7th. Scott Crump will finish 8th.
Tally did go to the 40 for that.
I'm not sure where we get a tally. Don't we get tally from severe damage or something like that?
I mean, that was a pretty severe damage.
That's what they called it. Severe damage penalty.
37 hit the wall pretty hard. So I'm going to say it was definitely for the severe damage. And that's what race control confirmed with us as well. So, yeah, I mean, essentially, that's about as severe as you can get. I mean, that was a pretty hard hit to the wall there, and he lost a few positions. So Ethan Burrell in the final run goes back to 7th. Let's go ahead and take a look at the finishing order here before we start getting in some of our finishers here for their interview. Able to get it done was Tate Lytle by 1 second over Garrison Hogan with a 2-tire call. Garrison Hogan, incredible finish for him. Definitely going to get himself some points, but essentially with how far out both those drivers right behind him were, of Tate Lytle and Matthew Weeks finishing 3rd and 4th, it's going to leave a lot of drivers into a must-win situation at Richmond. Trey Holmes able to get 5th place, the first driver not running in for the chase. Able to get that 5th place for Fueled Up Racing. Jesse Racimus on his birthday, incredible run, able to get that 6th place. Took out Chad Frankenfield and got yourself a top 10. There you go, buddy. You got it done here tonight. Ethan Burrell able to come home 7th, even with the damage that he had, and finishing in 8th was Scott Crump. David Tooker came home 9th, not the night he wanted. Not exactly how things went in. He came in a spot to get to make it to the next round. Now finds himself very deep in points. Ryan Gable is going to be our final top 10 finisher. Hunter Smith 11th. Justin Wadsworth comes back to a 12th. Jonathan Cutlip 13th. Leighton Norgard 14th. Justin Fortner 15th. Wyatt Canadle 16th. Richie Hearn, a really good top 20 finish in 17th. Joshua Personette, another strong and very respectable run in 18th. Back in 19th position was Mark Rebellis. A very good run for Mark Rebellis after having damage earlier on. Nick Massey never really went right for him tonight. Able to come home in 20th. Seth Ross 21st. Brent Jones 22nd. Gavin Hibbs 23rd. Ethan Stanley finds himself the last driver on the lead lap and definitely in a must-win at Richmond. Is back in 24th. One driver, or lap down drivers, Michael Goodman finished back there in 25th. Michael Hossack, 26th. Christopher, 27th. Kyle Hanshaw, 28th. Andrew Rucker, 29th. Justin Vandermeerl, 30th. Joshua Clark, 31st. Ty McIntosh, 32nd. Casey Hatch, 33rd. 34th, Johnny Thomas. Chad Frankenfield, 35th. And then final position is Jeff Green in 36th.
With that, let's interview our podium, and then we'll head on out of here. So I'll grab Tyler Fody and bring him up to the booth from P3. And Tyler, it looked like you had a pretty good car there tonight, but a little bit of a late incident, and then maybe a wall tap clouded your night from maybe getting a chance to get the win.
Yeah, the wall didn't do much. I think it was like 7 seconds or so, but yeah, just tough with the package. Unfortunately, with most of these tracks, it seems like, especially last week and now this week again, where if you just drive like 80% for first half the run, then you're flying at the end, which it's not really fun at all. And when you're trying to do that and you're kind of on your own, trying to maintain track position, it makes it even harder. So just kind of battling that the second half of the race. But overall, I mean, it was super fun. We had a really, really good battle the first half between like 6 cars. So that was fun. And then the second half, it kind of turned into who was going to save the best and then go.
Well, again, we got another driver locked in. I don't know if that's exactly what you wanted to hear, because now it goes down to Richmond. We alluded that a few times here tonight that we're going to go to Richmond, a short track racing where one of your teammates is really good and a few other drivers are really good there. You were pretty confident coming in tonight with how far up you were in points. How confident are you now with points and being able to point your way into the chase?
Well, I'll tell you, I was confident before Vegas, and then Burrell won, and that knocked it down about 50%. And then it's basically gone all the way after tonight, which I was aware of the chance of that happening just due to the final 9 here being literally the best guys we have. So any one of them can win any week. And I knew going into tonight and really this round that Weeks and I, really the whole playoffs actually, have been within a point or two of each other. So going into Richmond, or at least tonight, I was trying to just stay ahead of Weeks, which was pretty apparent there at the end. Just trying to stay ahead of him in case we do get another winner. I know Scott's really good at Richmond. Garrison's really good at Richmond. So yeah, if we do get a new winner, it's going to come down to a few points between Weeks and I. So yeah, definitely not confident going into Richmond.
One more question I had before we head out. Sorry, Dave. I have to ask this question here, but Weeks has made probably a couple enemies going into it. Did you have to try to go about adding some to your tally too, going into the final race to help just add to the drama there? A lot of contact with you and Weeks. Is that just due to the aggression of knowing where you have to be at right now and the intensity that you have to put on the racetrack?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely situational. Nothing personal at all. We both realized our points deal, kind of going back to last week. And it's been 100% clean in my opinion. We've hit doors a few times, but there's very few people in the league that you can do that confidently with, and know you're not going to get each other both wrecked. And I got a lot of respect for him. And I mean, all throughout tonight we were racing hard. So I would hope he's not upset or anything. I did apologize to Burrell. I'm probably going to have to send him another message, but that was just due to me trying to stay ahead of Weeks, like I was saying. And Burrell, he already won last week, so he'll be all right. He'll get over it.
Well, Tyler, any shout outs here before we send you off tonight?
Yeah, just the Lake Norman guys there. We were kind of up there early on, and then it just seemed like some strategy and tire management kind of separated everybody. But who knows? Maybe Scott or Ethan will get a walk-off win into Richmond. That would be cool. But yeah, shout out to those guys. Jonathan Cutlip and JD Designs for doing all of our paint schemes. Shout out to you guys for doing this broadcast, and shout out to Burrell again. Didn't mean to kill him there, but yeah, we'll be back at Richmond.
Alrighty, that's Tyler Fody. Didn't mean to kill him, but I did it anyhow. Usually it's for a victory, but this time around it's for third. But good job with the top three there, Tyler. We'll see you at Richmond. Hopefully you're able to get it done there.
Yeah, appreciate it. Take it easy.
That was Tyler Fody. Let's go ahead and bring up Garrison Hogan. Garrison, you drove impressive with having 2 tires there, but the question comes down: would it have been a different situation entirely if you had 4? I think that's what most people would be thinking at this point.
Yeah, we'll never know, right? Like, it's a night race. The track temp stayed about the same, and honestly, Tate did better just saving at the beginning of that. Like, that's all you really had to do was save your right front tire, and the line that he was running, and also the fact that he backed off his pace really, really helped. Didn't anticipate it, can't anticipate it. I kind of just have to run and try to get the lead, but he did a hell of a job. That was some very fast pace from him at the end, and I mean he practiced as well. So I guess if I get beat by anything, I guess it's somebody practicing, right?
I would say so. David?
Yeah, Garrison, I mean, what was your thoughts kind of on the package? I mean, you started pretty far back in this one. Were you just planning on being patient and swiping at the 2-tire call there late in the race, or were you hoping you could get up into this battle for the lead a little bit sooner than you did?
Honestly, I had some unexpected things happen a couple hours ago, so it kind of changed the course of my plan to practice and everything. And my first lap on the track was literally qualifying. I went out the first lap, kind of felt it out in 5th gear, and then I think I downshifted to try to run the lap, and I don't know, I messed that up really bad, but somehow finished 16th in Q. So it was just about me trying to get the track position. So I went early in the race to try to do that, accomplish that, and I thought about taking 2 at the beginning, but I didn't. I went with 4 so I could save that for later, and I don't know. I kind of felt like, or hoped that there would be another caution, and we didn't get one. So, oh well.
Well, this now sets it up to not necessarily a must-win situation, but with how far out in points Matthew Weeks and Tyler Fody are compared to where you are, going into Richmond, which a lot of people do pick you as one of the favorites going into Richmond. Does that kind of now point you into a situation where you focus on nothing more than victory?
Yeah, I kind of have to, right? And unfortunately, I'm not the type to get my hands dirty at any point, but I feel like I've been raced much harder in the playoffs, right? So it's gonna have to be one of those situations. Like, I just have to have short patience with people when it matters, and I can't really waste any time on passes. And I have to be really, really precise. Richmond's a hard track. It's a really, really hard track, as a matter of fact, in the next gen, to have good pace and pass people. So whatever it takes, I guess I have to do some practice now. Road to Pro is off, so I kind of have no excuse.
Well, as far as broadcasters, that's exactly what we want to hear. So, go ahead and give us your thank yous and shout outs for the second place. A really strong run here tonight for you.
Yeah, it's a big thank you to Kicking the Tires that's on board of this 36 machine. Jonathan Cutlip with the car that he painted. It looks so beautiful. And I hope that red chrome, especially at night, I really hope it shines. So it looks amazing. It ran well. I couldn't have asked for a better track combination with my skill. I've always loved this track, so that's great. Field Up Racing, Pro Edge, thanks to those guys. They're always there for me every week. I race with them. And then you guys for the broadcast, Belly Up Sports for sponsoring the league, and Chad Frankenfield and everyone else that puts on this good show.
That's Garrison Hogan, our second place finisher going into Richmond with high hopes and short tempers. So there goes Garrison Hogan. Good second place finish for him. Let's go ahead and bring up our next driver here. That is going to be Tate Lytle, tonight's victor And our next driver to lock themselves in for a chance to go for a championship. Not new to this by any means, but probably one of your hardest raced racetracks I've seen you do in a while there. Able to get it done here. It's been noted that you've had a rough season, a rough go of it. How good does this win feel in the predicament and in the situation that it was in?
It feels pretty darn good. I mean, it's been a solid year and a half since I won in the Cup Series, and I think I talked last week. I got second at Vegas to Ethan. It's like 6 or 7 second place finishes since my last win, 3 this year, and I don't know really necessarily where the pace came from. I watched a little bit of the race from a year and a half ago, the championship race that Josh Adams won from a year and a half ago last night, and I was just watching him enter so much lower than everyone else and was able to get back to the gas a little sooner, and it honestly saved the tires better. So I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to enter lower than everyone. I'm going to lift before everyone, get to the bottom before everyone else, and hope that it works out. And it worked out pretty good. I felt like, though it was hard, I was able to make the bottom work to pass people a little bit better than the rest of them, which is kind of what helped me get out front there a couple times. I think there was a couple people pace-wise, like I felt like Fody was pretty close pace-wise. I'm sure Ethan would have been if he would have had the track position not on 2 tires. But just once I got to the bottom, I felt like I was able to make it work a little bit better and came at a good time. It's cool to lock myself into the championship 4, try and go get championship number 4 here in a couple weeks, and it's at Kansas, which is a good track for me. But it's also a good track for Ethan and Weeks and Fody and Garrison and whoever else, has a chance at getting in. So it should be fun. Hopefully the setup's good and put on a good show. But hell yeah, thanks to Days Gone By of It's Racing Apparel, Race EPI. Thanks to Dad for still listening. He was just texting me. He's still listening. So thanks to him. Hopefully Jack's still moderately interested at this point. I doubt it. But yeah, cool to lock ourselves in, and we got a chance. That's all you can ask for.
All right, I got one for you here, Tate. A little quick question before we send you out. Who of those competitors do you not want to see win next week at Richmond? Who do you want to be racing against there? And I'll say you can't pick Tooker because that'd be your teammate.
Well, as long as no one below the cut line wins, it'll probably be Fody and Weeks. So other than those two, I would Garrison for sure. Garrison's kind of a sleeper in all this. He's pretty good just about everywhere. I think if he would have, same thing as Ethan, if he would have had track position and 4 tires, I think he probably beats me tonight. Only reason I was able to get around him is when I passed him, he was in dirty air and on 2 tires, so I was able to get around him, but he was putting up some pretty competitive lap times those last 30 laps or so. So I'd say, though he is one of my better friends on here, I hope that Garrison doesn't get the win next week, because he's gonna be pretty tough. But I mean, it's gonna be, even if he doesn't win, it's gonna be probably me, Ethan, Weeks, and Fody. And I mean, grab a couple quarters and flip them a couple times, because that's what it feels like with those 4. So.
Well, there you go. Go ahead and give us your thank yous and shout outs here for this victory. And
Gerald, it's like you don't even listen to me, man. I already got it done. I already got it.
You already did it.
I got it. No sponsorship shout outs?
Tate likes to shout out. Tate likes to shout them all out as soon as he gets to answer his first question.
You can't mess with Gerald's script.
Yeah.
Fine. No more questions for you, Tate.
Woo!
Drink a beer.
Love y'all.
We'll see the victory shot later on from you on Twitter.
I'm gonna have to go to the store, but we'll see what I can do. Later, fellas.
All right, that's Tate Lytle. He messed up my script.
He did. He does that.
Yeah, he does that. Well, that is it, folks. We got another victor that's just going to set things up to be even more competitive. We've heard from the competitors. Richmond is going to be something you're not going to want to miss. So tune in again for Richmond. That's going to be next week, where we're going to set our final 4 at the end of the race to run for a championship here in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. We thank you, everyone. Have yourself a wonderful night. And, of course, and always, stay happy.